So in this video, I'm going to try to build an NA automation for a real client on Upwork. So the reason for this video is because a lot of times clients on Upwork ask me to do some work beforehand, and sometimes they just disappear after I do the free work. So I thought if I'm doing this for free for a person on Upwork and getting nothing for it, I might as well make some content out of it. I will show you exactly how I will build something like this. So the client wants me to build a weekly reporting automation that pulls data from Hotspot, ClickUp, and Airtable. OpenAI to summarize, analyze calls, transcript, and Slack messages. And write insight back into Airtable, generate a Google Slides deck, pulling dynamic values, task count, summaries, and embeds charts created in Google Sheets. Send the Slack message with the deck link. So in the end, we want to have a deck that people can see in the Slack message. Already there's a lot of questions. Call transcript, where is it coming from? Is it coming from ClickUp or HubSpot? That's the second step. We store some information in Airtable and then have the client and project information there. This is the question: how would you approach building it in end-to-end? I explain the node structure, error handling strategy, and any key optimization or reusable pattern you will use. Include example of how you would paginate API calls and map multiple record response, manage dynamic data matching between Airtable and ClickUp. Handle API rate limit and failure. Format OpenAI prompt to get structured JSON in. This is a lot of research work, and this is only for a potential job. I usually just drop in the whole thing in ChatGPT. On the top, just give it some instruction, giving the task below what are the APIs needed for this workflow, and please look online for the relevant API documentation, HubSpot, ClickUp, and so for the first step, I definitely want to know what's the feasibility of this. So what kind of things I could get from HubSpot, ClickUp, and Airtable. But ideally, if the client is already working with me, then I would want to know exactly, the what information comes from what, like what the call transcript, is it coming from HubSpot, is it coming from the ClickUp, or is it like another source? It's always good to clarify before you begin. HubSpot, you can get deals, you can get contacts, you can get forecast. ClickUp, you can get task. ChatGPT already went ahead and planned out the workflow for me in here. And then it does have a schedule trigger that you can do, so that this makes sense. It suggests you will use loop with split in batches node. This might not be necessary because the HTTP node actually now has a pagination functionality built into it. So yeah, so initially I think all the nodes is pulling whatever data it can, use Airtable to retrieve Slack messages. Every time when you try to, you don't give any instruction to ChatGPT, it always tells you should get a sentiment score. But in my experience, sentiment score is not very helpful. It's not really something that people can take action on. So yeah, it just stores everything in Airtable. This thing sub workflow is something that is pretty standard in terms of building an NA workflow. So whenever you're building a really big workflow, you want to make individual workflow, a small workflow that only responsible for. So this is the same with software development. You want to do single responsibility for a module. Translate to NN as well. NN workflow, one workflow should do one thing. The less it do, it's better because you can always debug. And then it says managing credentials in NN Credential Manager rather than hard coding. So yeah, that's never hard code your stuff, your credential in the NAN node. That's just bad. in code node, there is option you can select as run once for all item, or you can run once for each item. So those two things are really different. And if you run once for all item, then a lot of times the variables before that code node is not selectable anymore. You cannot just drag and drop the previous variables to the for the next node, because it already the code node only ran once, so it doesn't know which item that you want to select from. So this whole thing is suggested by ChatGPT. So after reading it, I would ask it to generate a mermaid chart. A mermaid, so you can see that it's a bunch of words and then a little bit of symbols that indicate the syntax of a mermaid chart. Just search for mermaid.life. It's a free website where you can paste in the mermaid chart code, and it displays the mermaid chart. So sometimes they do have some syntax error. You can paste the error. You paste this error, you go back to ChatGPT, and you try to fix it. Still kind of hard to read, but I guess it's better now. I guess the color is better now. So yeah, you can see that it all starts with the schedule trigger. Then it pulls the deals, the context, the forecast, the task, and the messages on Airtable that we assume is synced with Slack, and merge by data. We merge them by project ID. So yeah, that means we kind of assume that all of this data will have project ID, and then they're the same project ID. Yeah, it goes through the LLM node, and then it comes back with the structured JSON. Then it should be like a blurb of summary where we write to the Airtable. Then it goes to Google Sheet to fetch some data for the chart. Then we go into Google Slides and then create deck embed chart. Then after we have all that, then we should have the slide, Google Slide link where we send it to Slack. So yeah, for me, in the end, I will record a video like this, just kind of go through the flow. But to be honest, I don't think this flow is complete yet, but it's more of just personal opinion and experience. You kind of have to see which part can be improved and then which part needs more clarification. So the first step of the proposal, or the first contact or communication, should really be trying to understand, trying to clarify things before we go into building, or even before to discuss like working together, because with the limited information, it would affect your way to have a good proposal. It's harder to estimate time and cost, and also implementation. And so it's good to understand the things that you don't know about the original job description. So for me, for this project, I really want to know, is all this information necessary at the top, or is it a subset of this information is necessary? And also, do they all have something that can identify the same project? If they don't, then we need to find some way to sync those data together. And finally is the output. The slide deck, like what kind of chart, what kind of information should be in the slide deck, because the information will greatly impact the input that we feed it. So all of this, it looks great, but it is far from a finished product in terms of like architecture for end-to-end automation. So yeah, that's how I would explain a end-to-end automation to a client on Upwork. And a lot of times I do this and I don't get any return from it because I spend a lot of time into it, even more than I put into this video. So what's your experience like working on Upwork? How has it been?